Hey, it's Jim, and this is Level 3 of the CFA program, a constructed response set on the topic of ethical and professional standards, and the learning module on application of the code and standards. Let's take a look at Pinnacle Wealth Management. We have Marcus, who holds the designation, recently joined Pinnacle Wealth as a senior advisor after leaving his position at Eastern Securities. This is pretty standard fare for the Institute because there are a different set of rules when one advisor leaves one firm and goes to another firm. There are lots of things that he or she is perfectly capable and acceptable and reasonable in doing, but then there's some violations as well. So clearly we're going to have to find out whether or not what Marcus does is a violation. Let's see what else is given to us in this little vignette. Has a reputation, strong relationships with institutional clients, corporate pension funds, maintain professional connection with clients through email and institutional LinkedIn profile. So this is going to refer us back to almost everything that the Institute writes us about social media. That social media was managed under Eastern's policy. He was never asked to sign a non-compete agreement. That's probably important there. All right, so this dude, he leaves Eastern Securities, updates his LinkedIn profile. Of course, he's going to update that, so there's nothing wrong with that. Sent private messages to his former clients informing them of his move. All right, so that sounds a little bit like it might be a violation, but we need to be careful if we're going to automatically jump on this dude and say there's no way you can do this. We'll talk about that when we get to the questions here. Pinnacle offers him a performance incentive that's not insignificant, $400,000, right? One-time payment based on the percentage of his former clients that transfer within the first 6 months, okay? Standard industry practice, hasn't mentioned it to his transferring clients. So here's the question of disclosure. Did we talk about it beforehand? Or what's the ethical motivation here, et cetera, et cetera. We'll have to figure that one out. Some extra information about Marcus's motivations: strong presence in private equity opportunities, compensation structure where the advisor receives quarterly incentive payments based on their clients' participation rates. These payments can significantly enhance an advisor's total compensation. Right? That makes perfect sense. The question then becomes, is this consistent with the code and the professional standards? Marcus does not discuss these incentive payments when talking with clients. A couple of other details here. Marcus serves on the investment committee of the Met Symphony Orchestra. All right, volunteers his financial expertise. Makes perfect sense. We're happy that Marcus is doing this, right? To help with the orchestra's fundraising efforts, he proposes an arrangement where he would direct 25% of his advisory fees from any new clients referred by orchestra board members. And patrons to the endowment fund. All right, well, let's worry about that. Let's worry about it. It might be okay, but it might not be. After receiving approval from Pinnacle's compliance department, that's probably an important sentence there, presented the proposal at the board meeting, enthusiastically received. The development office prepared promotional materials. When meeting with referred prospects, he explains the fee-sharing arrangement and orchestra. So this is a question of, is this the appropriate disclosure? And even if you disclose, is it still consistent with the professional standards? I mean, I could be a drug dealer and I could disclose that, but that doesn't mean that it's okay for me to be a drug dealer. All right, so here are the questions. Pretty standard, fair types of questions. Everyone is going to say something like, hey, do you agree or disagree? Was this a violation? Was it not? We probably have to offer some kind of justification. So let's go ahead. Let me make a comment on whether this shows up in an item set or in the essay type times of questions. So if you take a look at CFA stuff from the past. If this is in an item set, and the question will be, is this a violation? Answer A will be no, and answer B will be yes because of this. Answer C will be yes because of this. Or they'll switch the yeses and the nos. So you'll have to come up with two answers, the yes or the no part, and then probably some kind of a justification. And so it's pretty similar, but at least with the item set, you have, something to go on. All right, so here's that first question. LinkedIn, right? Inform and contact former clients. Do we like that one? Question 2, what about that $400,000 performance incentive? Do we like that one? How about the non-disclosure? Do we like that one? And how about the referral fees for the Met Symphony Orchestra? So let's go ahead and work through these. Question 1. Do we like yes? Do we like no? Let's go ahead and suggest a reason in a separate paragraph. Now, I gave you a hint as we were going through a couple of those things, so you should have gotten the sense that we're okay with this. Reason number 1, we're allowed to contact former clients. Now, this is really important when there does not exist a non-compete agreement. So that comment back here, where did we find that? Let me go back here. Here we go. Never asked to sign a non-compete agreement. Now, if this were different, we'd have to go and look at the details of the non-compete agreement and see what they say. So this is potentially a violation, but because we add that sentence in there, it's not going to be. And of course, the Institute is big on this. I remember this from over 2 decades ago, studying that if you're still working for that first firm, you're not allowed to go out and say, hey, I'm still working for this firm, but I'm moving over to that firm. And so as soon as I move over to that firm, I want you to move over with me. So. Reason number 2, of course, the CFA Institute says, well, social media is here, although I'm not a social media guy. I'm happy if you came and took a sledgehammer to my phone. It might be the happiest day of my life. So I don't know anything about social media. You've heard me say this before, but the Institute, they realize how important this is as a tool. So of course, that's okay. And there was no confidential information. There was no saying things like, oh my gosh, here's this proprietary trading model over here that I worked on a little bit. I'm going to bring it with me. And so, there's publicly available contact information. All right, how about question 2? What do we think about that $400,000 performance incentive? Do we like the, what's the question say? Yes, determine whether, yes. So the answer is yes. Disclosure of conflicts. Yeah, full and fair disclosure of anything that could impair independence or objectivity, tying that incentive to Marcus's compensation. That sounds to me like a clear conflict of interest. And of course, part of the whole disclosure is that, and I say this all the time in my daily life, in my parenting life, in my husbanding life, you just tell me the rules. Just give me the rules beforehand so that I know what's going to happen. I don't want any surprises. And so clients have a right to know. This is like, well, let's not have a surprise down the line. Question 3 is also a disclosure question about the non-disclosure of those quarterly co-investment incentive payments. This incentive structure, that creates an additional conflict of interest because Marcus has the temptation, how about the incentive, how about the motivation to go ahead and put his own personal financial gain in front of the client's interests. So how do we solve this problem? And remember, there are conflicts all the time out there. And so we need to kind of be proactive and say, you know what, let's go ahead and say, let's just remove that link between the recommendations and the advisor compensation. I mean, I think that takes care of everything. There's another advice here, implement mandatory disclosures. I mean, that's fine as well, but I like the first one much, much better. How about those Metropolitan Orchestra referral fees? Remember, when I was reading this, I kind of gave you the hint. I gave you the hint that there might be something going on there. But remember, a couple of those important phrases in there. obtain prior approval from the compliance department. And then there was disclosure with, there was a conversation with the board, and they agreed and they approved. And then when Marcus met with the clients at the initial consultation, he disclosed this so that they knew up front and they could make a decision whether or not they wanted to go ahead and pursue this. So that takes us through Learning Module 3. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. And as always, good luck studying.